I want to welcome everybody to my timeline. I'm your host, Virgil Reyes, and I know today we have Dylan Starr with us, who will be sharing his journey with us today. And in case you're not aware, we'll be launching a new show with Jace Gray and Don Stratton Jr. called Sales Porn. That'll be launching next Friday around this same time, so be aware of that. And then please help us spread the word by giving us a heart on this post, as well as sharing it with anybody that you know. If you know someone who can benefit from these, from our sales trainings, invite them. And all of the links will be in the description. If you're watching the replay, of course, please hashtag replay. And also don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe onto my YouTube channel, which all of these feeds will be onto as well. So if you miss them on the Facebook Live, or if they get buried, you can always search them up on Facebook. So I'm here, happy to welcome Dylan Starr, who is our guest today, and he will be sharing a lot of his journey. Dylan Starr, how are you, man?
Good. Thanks for having me.
All right, great to have you too, man. So, and just so you're aware, every time I do these lives, I always allow other people to plug their stuff, man. If you have anything you want to plug, anything that you can think of, feel free to put it inside of the comment section. That way anybody can find you. I'll also put it in my description section inside of YouTube. So I guess we'll get started by just asking, like, as far as like your journey leading up to where you are today in sales, what did that look like, man?
Well, I first got into entrepreneurship back when I was in the military, right? You can probably tell from my haircut, right? Old habits. I separated a while ago back in 2013. So anytime my hair grows out, it drives me crazy. And my first kind of book, I wasn't, one of the things in the military is a lot of people like to take smoke breaks, right? Everyone smokes. I'm not a smoker. I was an athlete back in high school. And so, smoke is one of my pet peeves. And I used to get really, really frustrated because they would get to take all these smoke breaks over and over and over again. So I went to my supervisor and I really just wanted to take time and read books. So I started like reading books. I wanted to, learn about entrepreneurship, learn about anything I could. So I went to my supervisor and I said, hey, listen, every time they take a smoke break, can I at least take a break and read a book? That's fair? Because they're taking breaks all the time. So he was completely cool with it, which of course I milked the hell out of it, right? I went to every smoker I knew and was like, smoke break, smoke break, smoke break, totally playing off of their addiction. So I'd get there, sit there and read books. And the reason why I actually got started in reading books is because when I was in the military, it was my first taste of passive income. Right. And for those that are watching this, maybe you guys have been in the military. What I mean by passive income, we got paid based off of a salary, right? It didn't matter how many hours we worked, right? I mean, you could build up leave. I could take time off, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever I had built up. And I would still get that paycheck every single 2 weeks. Right. So it was nice, right? Going on vacation and stuff and having that check come in. But it was limited. I had no control over increasing it. So I was like, well, I heard a lot about passive income and all these other people that are generating money. So I just wanted to read books. And that's when I came across the first book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, right? That was kind of my unplugging from the matrix.
I love that book.
Yeah, amazing book, right? So really completely changed my perspective on life, on business. And the only key concept that he talked about in this book was skills. He flat out says, he's like, hey, everything you do should not be about money. It should only be about skills. And he said, one of the skills you're going to have to need is you're going to need to know sales, right? Point blank period, whether you like it or not, right? You're always selling. You have to, and of course, when you're not into business or entrepreneurship and you're just a normal 9-to-5 worker, when you hear the word sales, it kind of pushes you away a little bit, right? You think like car salesman and all this other stuff. I was like, you know what? Maybe he's right. And in the book, he said the best thing that you could possibly do to learn all these skills is just join a network marketing company, right? It's okay. He's multi-billionaire. He said, join network marketing. At that time I was in college after separating the military and actually got approached for an opportunity that just so happened to be network marketing after rereading the book for the second time, just to refresh my memory. So I joined this company back when I was in Louisiana and just made it about the skill. I didn't care about the money, didn't care about the checks, any of that stuff. Just made it about learning sales. And what was interesting is I wasn't building this as a business as like I should have been. I was just focusing on selling, and it was just selling products, right? And me and my roommate at the time was actually approached by the top income earner of the company, and he reached out to us and said, "Hey, I see you guys are putting this area on the map. I'd like to come help you guys out. So this multi-millionaire top income earner of this company flies from Texas all the way to Louisiana, and kind of like takes us under his wing, teaches us, how to build it like driven business. And what was interesting was, when I was selling, I was just spewing, man. Like, I mean, I knew everything about the products that we were selling. I knew about all the benefits of it. I knew why you needed it. I could, you had an ailment or anything wrong with you, I could tell you like what the best route was. So I was just, my process face to face was just talking, selling. I didn't know any better, spewing at the mouth. And then there's this multimillionaire. I'm sitting there in meetings, and he's literally just chilling, just not talking much at all. Ask some questions here and there. Very, just relaxed the whole time. Like, which I took note of that. I was like, wow, like this guy he's not really talking that much. He's just chilling, top income around the company. And then, so that's when I started like reading sales books and getting into, the knowledge of not being the one that talks the most, and learning more about not being features and benefits. So flash forward, I got excited about marketing, and I looked back at some of the people that actually came into that company, and that were actually killing it. And one of the cool things about that industry that I noticed was that they were leaning on the success stories of each other to sell, right? So when I got into, I joined a car dealership just to get more sales skills and stuff. And I actually started taking stuff that I learned when I was back in network marketing and applying this kind of like leveraging case studies, leveraging success stories, leveraging social proof. And what's crazy was it worked, right? I'll never forget this guy that came from a construction background, right? So his whole life, he just knew everything about construction, never been in the industry whatsoever. It took him 7 years to actually join this company. And he went and just like broke every record known to man. And he had no idea how the industry worked. And I remember sitting face to face to this guy. And I was like, dude, how did you, like, you don't even know like how you get paid. You don't know like the structure of the company. You don't know how the compensation model works. You don't know any of this stuff. But how did you knock it out of the park? And he said, all I did was lean on the top income of the company. That's all he was doing. He was literally just talking about the success and what happened with somebody else, just leveraging. So when I got out of the network marketing realm, I wanted to get into agency work. And I saw this problem in the marketplace. All these people were taking courses. They were learning about B2B stuff. They were learning B2C stuff, and how to do marketing, right? Social media marketing, Facebook marketing, SEO, anything, you name it. All these people take courses. But there was one problem, Virgil, in every single group I was in. None of these people had any idea how to get clients, like at all. Right. So they literally spend weeks, months building websites and trying to make their stuff look pretty and building these fancy proposals and stressing over their business name, all this crap, but they had no idea how to sell. Mm-hmm. None whatsoever. So I thought that was really fascinating. And what was interesting was I'm not a tech guy. I had no desire to do Facebook ads. I had no desire to build a website, nothing. So I did this post and I said, you know what? I'd like to partner with somebody. I said, hey, if I go out and I close deals, would somebody just handle the work, right? I'll go out, I'll be the front runner, I'll cold call, I'll do whatever, which I did, right? I mean, I walked in, everything, you name it. I mean, door-to-door businesses, picking up the phone and dialing, finding people on Craigslist and picking up the phone and calling, and then just like doing all this stuff. And when you first are exposed to that and you've never done it before, you get all this resistance. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading these books talking about how the introduction is the most important part, right? Kind of this fight or flight response. So, if you get a call out of somebody out of the blue, you even think that it's a sales call, it pushes people away. So I thought back and I was like, how can I make this process better, right? What can I do to make this process better? And I thought back to when I was in network marketing and the guy that leveraged the top income earner in the company. And I was like, well, wait a second. What if I could just find some kind of social proof that kind of goes over results? So for Facebook ads and everything, I literally went online and I just typed in success stories. If, whether the company that I was going to close for was doing email marketing, for those that are here that are in the B2B space, guess what? email marketing softwares want you to use their product. So they have case studies and success stories, right? Talking about all the money people have made using it, right? Take MailChimp, for example, take ActiveCampaign, whatever email software it is you're using. Facebook ads, guess what? Facebook wants you to use their platform. So guess what Facebook had? They had success stories.
Yep.
So what I did was I went on and I did videos, talking, showing the success stories. Never claimed that we got those results. Just said, hey, this is what's possible from so-and-so. Hey, look at Bob. Here's how much money he made using Facebook ads, and he's in the same industry as you. Hey, here's Sarah, right? Using email marketing, and she was able to 3x her business doing blah, 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 blah. So anytime I got rejections or objections or anything, I would literally just lean on the social proof of others. And it's crazy. Not only did it work, I ended up being featured. I got a message. I had joined SMMA program by Ty Lopez, and a member of his team reached out to me because I ended up closing about 20K in sales in a month, and they wanted to feature me on his Instagram story. So it was really cool. Ty Lopez, the COO, reached out to me, and he blasted me on Instagram stories, which was cool. Got like an extra 100-something followers, right? Shout out to Ty. Thank you for that.
That's cool.
And so people started reaching out to me and just asking me all these questions like, dude, how do you get clients? We look at my proposals and this and that. And then that's when it kind of clicked. I was like, man, people just legitimately, they have no idea how to sell. Even now today with my coaching, my programs, everything that I have, I always sell stuff first for proof of concept, and I build later. Whereas I feel like most people will waste all this time and energy building stuff out and doing this. And I put sales first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And my philosophy, which is why also for those tuning in, I'm so excited about the new show that we're gonna be doing with Virgil and Jace and Don, is that, we all have different philosophies. And my philosophy is that you don't have to have years of sales experience or any experience at all to be able to close deals. Period.
100%.
Like you really don't. Now, I'm not saying to take away from the experience, right? When people hear like how I deal with resistance and with objections and all this other stuff, I have years of experience, right? Built up, right? I mean, I've closed for multiple 7- and 8-figure influencers. I've led a team of 50 to 60 closers when at first I was the only one closing. And then, and I'll tell that story too. It's pretty crazy, but as long as you have some kind of social proof and you have something to leverage, I consider that ammunition for battle, right? Same thing. If someone to tell me to go and cold call right now, like, hey, pick up the phone, here's a list of these dials, I'd be like, cool, where's my sword? You need something.
Exactly.
So, and whatever that something is, whether it's a case study from a client, an agency, anything that you guys have, as long as you can leverage something, you can deal with resistance, you can deal with objections, you can get your foot in the door, and you can lean on social proof to even where you're not the expert in whatever it is that you're selling, right? Even if you're closing for somebody else, just lean on the weapons that you have, leverage social proof, and let the social proof do all the work for you. That's my philosophy. That's how I always close deals. That's how I teach people how to close deals, even if they've never closed before a day in their life. And so after the agency model and killing it, it was a lot of work, right? Doing cold calling, getting your foot in the door with businesses. And, when people hear the story, like, holy crap, he closed, 20K in revenue in a month, guys, that's revenue. It was a lot of work. I didn't make $20,000 in a month. I closed $20,000 worth of deals in a month, and my cut of that was roughly like $2,600, right? From the deals that I had with all the people. I was just a closing machine. I didn't want to deal with clients or do fulfillment. So all that work and, decent money, right? So that's when I realized, I was like, man, I love sales and I love closing. I don't like dealing with fulfillment. I don't like dealing with clients. So I was literally searching online and I was just like, well, what if somebody already has like leads and was willing to pay me for what I just did, and I don't have to actually go out and get the leads myself, right? Yeah. And then that's when I kind of learned about this whole high ticket sales industry, right? Where there are actually people and influencers out there who are spending millions of dollars in advertising. They already have social proof and everything, and they're closing deals. So my buddy, you guys maybe have heard of him, Joey, shout out to Joey Rich. He was putting together a sales team about a year and a half, 2 years ago now. for Kevin David. Kevin David's a well-known influencer out there in the e-com space. At that time, he only had like 500, 600,000 subscribers. I think he's over 1 million now on YouTube. I believe so. Or he might've been on 100K then. I don't remember. He was looking for closers, and everyone was harping on. Yeah. So everybody at that time was talking about this whole like inbound thing, right? Where a lead is scheduled and called and on your calendar, and you go and close the deal. So I got online with Joey. We liked each other. We wanted to team up, and he said something very interesting to me. He goes, "Hey, to get our foot in the door with Kevin, which I really respect that he did this. We're not going to be taking inbound calls. It's going to be picking up the phone and dialing people that register for his webinar. So everyone can kind of see like a perspective of this is Kevin David would spend money on an ad. They would watch the ad, they would watch a webinar. And after they watch a webinar, they would either purchase this product or they wouldn't. Right.
Right.
So if they didn't purchase the product, what we would do is we pick up the phone, completely cold call them, which I don't consider cold calling. I call it warm calling because they at least know who Kevin is. They just watched the webinar, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Are you cool with that?" And I was like, "Dude, hell yeah. Like that's cake." Like I was freaking calling. I was going on Craigslist, cold calling businesses who no idea who the hell I am, leveraging freaking case studies that I found online and closing deals. I'm like, this is cakewalk. So I think at the time there's probably about 10 or 11 of us as closers, and Joey said something interesting. He's like, "Hey, let's make it fun. I have this the brand Team Live Rich shirt, and the first person to close the deal is going to get the T-shirt." And I was like, done. So that week I closed. I was the first one to close the deal, and got the T-shirt. And then and after a while, we were doing inbounds and outbounds. And then there was probably like me and one other person on the team that were actually closing deals. It was really, really weird. So Joey reached out to me. We couldn't understand why. He's like, why is nobody else closing deals? Like what's going on here? Is it the leads? Is it this? So we got on a Zoom training, and everyone wanted to do a role play. They're like, "Hey, let's just role play it out." And for those that are watching this, I'm not a fan of role plays. I hate them, to be honest with you. It's not my thing. I think if you have the opportunity to be like in a real life situation, that's the best training that you can absolutely get.
Absolutely.
So he actually, I'm pretty sure he recorded it. I don't know where the recording's at. We're all on Zoom. And I told Joey, I was like, well, why would we do a role play? Why don't we just share audio now on Zoom, and let's just do a live call, because nobody's closing. And then everyone just kind of like looked at me in shock. They're like, he's like, "Wait, are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I'll just do it right now. Like, let's just call somebody live." So they're like, "Oh, okay, crap." He's like, "Okay, everybody mute." So called, got all the way to the end. It was a smooth call, and dealing with resistance, handled objections in front of everybody, and got to the point where like the sale was like there, and then like the call like dropped at the end. So it like went from a done deal. So even though like it didn't turn into a deal, like everyone was just like mesmerized. We're like, "Holy shit, dude, like you're really good."
Yeah.
And then I started listening to other people's calls, and I realized the difference that I was doing compared to everybody else was exactly what I have always done. I was literally just leaning on social proof and leaning on Kevin David's brand. I didn't make it about me. I'm not the expert, right? He's the expert. So if somebody would ever say like crazy objections, like, if we're selling an Amazon program and a prospect would say something crazy like, "Well, how are you doing with Amazon?" Right? How much money are you making? Right? Most people like they fumble and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm not doing Amazon, blah, blah, blah." And I literally would just handle that resistance with, "Hey, listen, when it comes to products and stuff, I'm definitely not the person that you want to listen to, right? The best way to not make money is by listening to me, right? I'm not the expert. Kevin David is. I'd love to be able to get into Amazon stuff in the future, but right now my main focus is being on the team and help supporting him." And then I would redirect back to, their goals, right?
Yeah.
And just having fun with it, like joking with prospects, saying stuff like, when people would ask me like, what's my favorite thing, they'd be like, what's the best product, the top winning product? And I would joke back with them and be like, "Hey, listen, if I knew what the top winning product is, you and I could both agree that we wouldn't be on the phone right now. I'll be sipping a mojito on the beach, enjoying the fruits of my labor if I knew what the best winning product was." And they'd always laugh and be like, no, you're right. Right. So silly things like that. So I broke down all of my calls and my process, and I started teaching it to our team. And then that's where I broke it down into like, okay, what am I doing differently than everybody else? What's everybody struggling with? How can I make this better? Because it's one thing for me. I've never been in a position where I was teaching other people how to do what I was doing. I just got it. I don't know how to explain it. Like I just had my own process. So I listened to people's calls, found what they're struggling with, and then I ended up incorporating these steps. Like I call it the 8-step inception flow. Why inception? Because when I taught it to people, people are like, oh my God, it's like the prospect closes themselves. And I'm like, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. And someone's like,
exactly.
it's like inception. So ended up renaming it the inception 8-step flow, and started teaching it to people. Literally was able to teach it to people who've never closed in a day in their life, right? Following the system, obviously putting in the numbers, of course, and we're closing deals and they're making money. And over time, that's where the experience gets in and you get better and better and better. So I, on the team, ended up being head of sales for the team, managing and teaching and training. Made Kevin a lot of money, especially doing outbounds. And and since then I've just been teaching and coaching. We started an academy where I was just teaching everybody else everything I know, helping people with live call breakdowns and role plays. I feel like my biggest strength is helping people that are kind of getting going, like develop scripts. Um, I enjoy it. I'm a very kind of process oriented individual. And I love, like, I can literally listen to somebody's call, hear what their objections are and be like, okay, here's a way that you can frame it. Here's something that you can leverage. Let's put this in your intro. Let's tweak your script so you can crush this frame if it comes on later on. And through doing coaching, I enjoy coaching the most because it'll take 1 or 2 sessions of tweaking their script and then listen to their calls and then boom, close. And we make it better and better and better and better. So I love sales, very passionate about it. It's what I enjoy. But more so, I enjoy helping other people get results as well.
Yeah, that's impressive. Yeah, one thing that you pointed out that I actually see myself, like, I guess you could say, that I resonate with, which is like me, you, Don Stratton Jr., Jace Gray. And I know that we're not the only guys out there, but a lot of us are actually like natural born salespeople. Like you said, to explain like how you just know how to do it, it just really doesn't, it's just instinctual. Like you just know exactly what to do, which is very good. And actually the passion of sales that you have drove you to where you are today. I mean, if you think about most of everything that you did, I'm sure that you would say that it's not something that you were comfortable with, but you did it anyways because of your passion or your desire for sales, would you say?
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah.
100%, right? There's nothing, I mean, even now, right? Like people that are passionate about sales that enjoy this industry, right? That doesn't mean that um, I like dealing with, doing 100 dials and, getting resistance, getting hung up on, getting rejection, right? That sucks for anybody, right? It's not like, yeah, we just love this. This is amazing. Anyone that's just normal. That's just simple things that anyone would have to go through and just get used to. But I think over time, when you're in this industry, you just start developing thick skin and things just don't affect you, right? So there's different levels to it. And I'll give you, give you an example that I never really thought about. This was from a guy, Raphael. If you're watching this, shout out to you. I mean, this guy's been in sales for over 30 years, and he was an influencer who wanted closers for the B2B industry. And he's a savage. Like I can close. I was very, very surprised because I was listening to his calls. We're watching him over Zoom where he's literally cold calling, doing everything. And this guy, like, I mean, he's a savage. I'll give a shout out to Raphael. The dude can close. Really, really good. But again, the key point there is 30 years, like, right? So when it comes to business, when it comes to sales, like all that time and experience stacked, right? That's a huge advantage, right? I mean, I've now been, I think, in sales, 5-6 years compared to 30.
Right.
But he was telling me, he's like, he told me about these different levels that people get at. And he's like, when somebody first starts, they get like super, super excited. Like this kind of like the first level, right? Think about when you go and you get a bike for the first time. You're super excited to ride the bike, right? So your excitement level is here, but your skill level is down here. And then you go and get on the bike, and then what happens? You fall and you scrape your knee, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh crap. So now, your excitement level is here. So when people get in this industry, when you get into closing, whether it's inbound, whether it's outbound, everybody starts off with this excitement level, but they don't realize that, okay, your skill is here. And they don't realize that it's going to take time for your skill level to get up here. But here's the problem. And this is why most closers fail, right? You're in sales, you know this, closers come and go. Sales reps for any company, they come and go. There's this timeline that there's always going to be this drop off rate because somebody who's brand new thinks that, oh, I'm gonna knock it out of the park, I'm gonna make all this money. They don't realize it takes time to build up this skill. So what happens is over time, you'll get to the point where you'll have like massive wins. Your skill level's still here, like when it gets about the mid level, and you'll have a week or two where you just absolutely kill it. You'll absolutely kill it. You'll crush it, right?
I've seen that.
And
Yeah.
you get super excited, right? And then everyone goes to this dip. When the next week it doesn't happen, you're like, oh, what the hell? And then what happens is it affects your closing ability because your excitement level was here because you were crushing it, and now that you're not, guess what? You're affected because now your excitement level is down here. When you're at that middle ground level, it's hard to advance because advanced closers can get to the point where their skill level is here and their excitement level stays consistent, and it doesn't matter. They can keep their skill level consistent over time and not have the highs and lows of being depressed plus being excited, right?
Yeah, I agree.
When I say highs and lows is like, guys, excitement can affect you, right? It's a positive emotion, yes, but you don't want to rely on just positive emotion to move you forward. You want to rely on keeping your skill consistent over time. So for those people that have been in the industry for like kind of a little bit, I want to say about maybe 3 to 6 months, they're the ones where their skill level's getting there. But if you're relying on excitement and you know, like, oh crap, if you're down and you're completely going to crumble and it's going to focus your closing ability, that's when it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Um, yeah, that's one thing that I've learned that when it comes to emotion, it's actually probably the biggest distraction when it comes to sales in general. In fact, when we talk about mindset, it's really about being in control of your emotions, right? So most of these people that are relentless on cold calling, on anything having to do with sales, they just figure out a way to do it. They don't worry about whether or not they're not making the money or they are making the money. They just get in there, they dial, they do everything that they can possible. And in some cases, like maybe that's something that, it has to do with limiting beliefs, but nonetheless, yeah, it is definitely an obstacle. And just so everybody knows, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be successful, that's one of probably the most important thing that you want to work on is going to be your mindset. That way, whenever you're excelling to your success, of course you're going to have sales as your foundation, right? But if you don't have that mindset to help you, when you fall, in some cases most people give up, and that's where we see people drop off. So it is important. I think that what that point that you just made right now, Dylan, about your emotions controlling how well you perform whenever you're in sales, that's extremely great.
Yeah.
So
Here's the thing on mindset too. And again, this is why I'm so excited about the show that we're all going to be doing together. You guys definitely want to tune into Sales Porn because everyone has different philosophies. And I will say my philosophy on the whole mindset thing is a little bit different than most people out there. And here's why. An example I just gave you, right? Over time, it's going to take time to develop a skill, right? There's no beating the time factor. So I always tell people, if you're going to get in closing and you really want to develop this as a skill and you want to get good, you need to have at least a 6 to 12 month mentality, right? Don't worry about the results you get in 30 days and 60 days, 90 days, any of that crap, right? You need to be focused on 6 to 12 months, okay? I view the whole mindset thing as when you're at that level where your skill is up here, and then it makes a difference compared to where most people just focus on mindset in the beginning. And let me give you an example, right? In high school, I ran track and cross country, right? Distance, right? I did the mile, the 2 mile, the 3 mile, the 4x8, etc. And the thing is, when you're running a mile around the track, my senior year, my goal was to run a mile in under 5 minutes. I wanted to break 5 minutes for a mile. Not a 4-minute miler guy. I never ran under 4 minutes. That's your booking. But what's interesting is when you're at that level, I think my PR for the mile was like 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And there were guys in state at the meet that were running it in like 4:11. So there's that gap, right? 433 to 411. And the people that are around 411 would usually teeter totter each week to like between 411 and 415. At that level, what I want to understand is when you're that level, in order to shave off those extra 5 seconds, like going from 415 to 411 or even lower, is like a lot of work, right? It doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. The only way to get better at that is stuff like interval training, wearing light shoes, right? So that you're not carrying extra weight per step, because that adds up and compounds over time. Your mobility and how your foot strikes the ground. If you guys were to look at the Olympics, if you guys notice when the Olympics and when they take off running and they take a snapshot, everyone's feet's off the ground because they have perfect running form. It almost looks like they're gliding in the air. There's no like their form is immaculate because that's the level that they're at. I view mindset for closers and business for that level to make those minor tweaks. If you have never ran a day in your life and you are a Netflix couch potato, it doesn't make sense for you to worry about how your foot is striking the ground. It doesn't make sense to worry about how much weight is in your shoe. It doesn't make a difference. You just need to get up off your ass. You need to run. You've never done it before, right? They don't have to worry about the meticulous stuff. Same thing, bodybuilders. When people talk about diet and stuff, some people watching this, you guys look at these bodybuilder figures and you want, these special diets that they do. They're at a level where they're trying to go from 10% to 3% within for a show. But most people watching this, you guys aren't even at anywhere near 10%. You just need to freaking cut cookies and eat right and lose weight, right? So I view the whole mindset thing, like getting your mind right and stuff as something that will really come and cater later after you have the consistency. I see so many people that drill mindset. And here's the problem is they focus on mindset over and over and over again, but they lack consistency. They don't put in the time for putting in the work and leveling up their skill. It's in my opinion, people that dive in, I think that mindset is that last jump you need to go from like closing 10, 20 plus K a month to like that next level, right? That's when that little incremental growth is huge impact on your income. Compared to everyone else who just have to put in the time and consistency. So if you're brand new to closing, guys, mindset is important. Don't get me wrong, but you guys have to still have that 6 to 12 month mentality of getting your skill up while balancing mindset. And then once your skill is there, then you want to double down on those little tweaks that's going to help you get to that next level. And that's where mindset will come in for a factor. So that's a little bit of a different perspective that I have when it comes to that.
That's very good. That's kind of like a good introduction for anybody that struggles. Now, when it comes to struggles, what would you say is, I guess you could say like the biggest struggle? Because like I said, you were doing like these cold calling things like that. What would you say was like the factor that made it kind of difficult or challenging for you?
For the cold calling?
Yeah, for the cold calling or sales in general.
Getting through, definitely getting resistance in the beginning, getting to the decision maker and getting through the gatekeeper. So I had to test like tons of different things. And I started doing crazy stuff like looking up the business online, looking them up on the Better Business Bureau just to get the owner's name. So, let's say the owner was Virgil. I'd literally pick up the phone, and if I knew Virgil's name, I was like, back to leverage. So here's a little tip for you guys if you're ever going to get through gatekeepers. I was like, okay, I know that these people aren't going to check their email. Like, it's not going to happen. I'm going to email them, blah, blah, blah. Who the hell knows who knows who it's going to go to, whatever. Right. So I sent them an email, basically breaking down, give them a link to like a case study that I've done, whether they've seen it or not. I was like, all right, I want to leverage this email to get through the gatekeeper. So let's say Sarah would answer the phone. I would ask for Virgil as if he knew me. Blah, 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 with blah, 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 his business. This is Sarah speaking. He's like, hey, Sarah, is Virgil there? No, he's not. May I ask who's calling? Oh yeah, it's Dylan. I'm just calling in regards to the email conversation that we had. Do you know what time he's gonna be available? And then, he's gonna be in later today at 4. Okay, hey, listen, no problem. I'll call back later at 4. Click. Like, I wouldn't pitch the gatekeeper. I wouldn't say anything. I would just figure out when Virgil would be available. And then same thing, right? So then I'd call back later. I would just need my shot getting through the gatekeeper, and I would do that by leveraging the email. So I positioned it as if like Virgil's expecting it. And I did send the email, right? And so it kind of put the gatekeeper in position of where like, oh, okay, well maybe Virgil knows what this is. And then I'd have my shot at at speaking to the business owner, right? So the hardest part with cold calling is getting your at bat and getting to the decision maker, and that was kind of a leveraging trick that I would do.
That's impressive. I've actually never, I've done many techniques before, but I've never actually tried that before, where you act like you know the business owner and don't even engage with the gatekeeper. In fact, whenever you start questions, it almost sets up like an instant defense wall. You know what I mean? As soon as you start saying, "Hey, as far as like the business and things like that," they start to realize that you're somebody that's trying to solicit to them. So that's very clever. I mean, talking to them like saying, "Yeah, I'll just call him back when he's in. Thanks," and then hang up.
100%. Yeah.
That's really
You
good.
never
That's
pitch
really good.
never pitch the gatekeeper. Like I learned that, I figured that out the hard way. Like, and it made sense, right? You guys got to understand that they're looking at the clock and they're just ready to get the hell out of there. They don't care about what services you have to help the business. They don't care about, how much money you're going to be able to make the company, you're going to be able to make the owner. The only thing on their mind is it 4:30 yet? Can I get the hell out of here? I want to be done with my shift. So once I came to that realization, I was like, okay, I don't want to give them any data, any information. And the other problem that you run into is when you start asking questions, getting to go deep into like their business or seeing anything, you have no control over what that gatekeeper says to the owner in between time. So even for all you guys out there that do pitch the gatekeeper, you tell them you could have done everything absolutely perfect tonality, handle the situation, but your gatekeeper is not going to translate that tonality and the flow of things how you did it to the gatekeeper. They're just going to say, someone called earlier about their services, blah blah blah. Oh, not interested. You lost your shot.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing, man. That's good. The gatekeepers is actually one that I would always stay away from whenever there's opportunities. I was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with gatekeepers because I know that in most cases it's going to be like a follow-up call. But
Mm-hmm.
that's just me personally. I meant, kudos to you, man. Obviously, you're an expert in what you do because not only are you teaching other people, but you've done it all yourself. So, in the five experience that you've had, like you mentioned about the levels that your friend was talking about, where would you say that you were at?
I was definitely still at the point where my skill was here, and if 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 I didn't have like I don't know, almost like the level like positioning of focus that I want to be at, right? If anything was kind of like daunting me, or maybe it could be personal life, anything like that, it is really good feedback. He's like, dude, he's like, you remind me of myself. He's like, you handle rejections. You have that very kind of like outgoing personality. You sound like me on the phone. He's like, you're here. And he kind of gave me that feedback. And he says, it seems like, when I see you that you're crushing it, but then if something happens, whether it's your personal life or anything, that it kind of, your right state of mind, it kind of still affects you. And he's like, you still have that last like little 5%. He's like, when you get to that extra like 5%, he's like, you're going to kill it. Right. So there's always levels, always room for growth. I don't consider myself a master closer because I I don't want to be a master, right? When you put caps on mastery, then there's no room to grow. You don't get feedback, and I still myself even love getting feedback. I mean, I would teach other people on our team. We would do live call breakdowns and stuff, and sometimes a member of our team who was closing way less than me would handle a specific objection a certain way, or they say this one specific line or handle it. I'd be like, oh, I really like that. I'm going to use that myself, right? So I think
Exactly. Yeah.
in this game, in this skill set, when it comes to closing, you have to be humbled enough to like still want to learn from other people, because there's always room for growth of getting better and better and better. And if you never obsess over getting better and better and better and trying to hit that next level, then you're going to be stuck and stagnant.
Yeah, I agree. One of the most significant things I think for anybody in sales is growth, because it does, like you said, it'll do two things. Number one, it humbles you, and secondly, you're also when you get feedback from other people or when you hear them use those techniques, you can utilize them. And like me personally, I've always like used a technique, and then I'll come back and say, you know what, shout out to this person, man, because they, just by using their technique and whatever it is that I already do, I crushed it. You know what I mean? It was like the missing element. And not in most cases, like whenever we're on sales calls, it's always going to be something different, right? Because every scenario is going to be a little bit different. So mastery is like something that's unachievable, which is great for somebody like myself, because I'm obsessed with growth. You know what I mean? I want to make sure that I'm growing in every way possible and learning more. and it definitely helps out. You know what I mean? But every sales call, I meant, you're never going to have like a perfect sales call every time. I would say you can do as good as possible, but there's always things that you could improve on, of course, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Growth mindset, really controlling your excitement level. It's funny being, when I was head of sales of our team, and during our hiring process and stuff, we'd have trial weeks where I would give no one no training. I'd be like, hey, here's a recorded training that I've done. I had like 1 or 2 videos. Literally, that's it. They'd watch the training, we'd throw them to the wolves just to see who would survive. Like, go out there, just go put in the work. Who can be resourceful? Um, not have to come asking for help every 3 to 5 seconds, right? Who has the capability of literally, if something's not working with the software, going on Google and figuring it out, right? We wanted resourceful people that were able to grow. And sometimes we'd always get these young guys who were just like this, like just all talk, like, oh, I'm going to kill it. I'm so pumped. And I'm going to be top closer. I'm gunning for the top, yada, yada. And it's in my head. I was like, this person's not going to last. Like, it's gonna be like this for a while. They're gonna get hit in the face because their excitement level's here. They're gonna drop every single time. Like, not once have I ever had somebody on the team that was like very outgoing, like, I'm gonna be like this and that, blah blah blah, like actually make through. They just their excitement level is just here, and you really have to have that kind of like humble consistency mentality of just like improving. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of people that don't do that I do myself is the only way, guys, that you guys can improve is you have to record your calls, like, period, and you have to review them. So even I will go back to, people always say, well, how do you get better? Like, if you don't have anyone listening to your stuff, I listen to my own stuff. That's part of the process. Like, I'll go back and if there's ever a weird situation where I'm on the call with a prospect and I'm like, man, that I thought for sure that was a done deal. The first thing I always listen for is, at what part of the call did I spark uncertainty? So I always ask myself, I'll sit back and say, okay, this doesn't make sense. I thought this person was going to close. At some point in the call, they felt uncertain. What was it? What did I miss? I can always go back, listen to the call, hear the question, and hear either my tonality, or maybe I fumbled, or maybe I stuttered, or maybe I just said something that wasn't quite convincing enough, or because I sounded unsure and I didn't realize that I was coming across unsure myself. And I was like, that's where I messed up, because I said it, but it didn't sound like I was certain. So I made the prospect have uncertainty, and that's how I get better, right? So anytime that something goes wrong, we guys have to realize in any part of the process is you cannot make the prospect feel uncertain. Your certainty level always has to be up to here, right? And that's a skill set in itself that you continuously want to improve on. So the best way that you can grow and do homework is listen back, listen for that time where you made uncertainty feel in the prospect, and then figure out what you can do better next time, right? What 3 things could you learn from the conversation? That's what I always ask myself. And I learned that from the car sales industry, right? What 3 things could we improve on? How can I
Yeah,
get
that's
better?
good. That's really good.
Yep.
Always seeking that improvement is definitely something that will help you in sales, especially, or even as an entrepreneur. And like some of the things that I used, maybe you've done this before, but there was a guy, James Dean Dempsey. He was very good at sales. Haven't seen him for a while, but shout out to James if you're watching this. He actually pointed out something that was very new to me, which is very time consuming, but I'm serious about like my improvement in sales. So he was literally telling me that I should transcribe my sales calls. And so I started to do that with like the whole call, whether it was 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. I started to transcribe them like over a weekend. I would just start writing down everything. And then it started giving me a lot of like feedback about what it is that I'm thinking at the moment when I'm talking. And it helped me to make those subtle improvements, which was really, really great. Now, for those of you that don't really have time, I would just recommend when you listen, like Dylan was talking about, you just write down what questions you were asking. And I think that's good enough, because what you're doing is you're reflecting on where's your mind at right at that moment whenever you're asking that question. And it definitely helps you to give you the right feedback, so you know how to correct that. You know what I mean? Because it's really an internal problem. It's not something you can just listen to on the call and say, okay, yeah, that sounded bad. But when you write them down, it really gives you a reflection on what was going on through your mind when you asked that question or when you said whatever it is. And the number one thing that I've probably seen from closers is that whenever they're on a phone call, rather than being inside of the prospect's head, they're inside of their own. They're thinking of the next question to ask, or they're thinking
Yeah,
about what they need to, what's the next step, or how they're trying to give themselves feedback, like how am I doing so far on the call, rather than listening to the prospect. And I think
exactly.
that that's something that a lot of people could use, improvement on for sure.
Yeah, active, like, again, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because I tell people this all the time, is that, like, people think that, oh, I'm here to learn closing. Like, closing is a skill. Well, no, closing is here, and underneath closing are all these other skills that you have to improve on and get better at. And active listening is one of those skills. Like, active listening is very hard for some people, really tuning in and understand what they're saying. And the biggest issue I see, especially when I do call breakdowns for people, is that they don't understand how to go deep into pain, like, correctly. They don't understand how to, you're not, when you guys have a script, like, the purpose, I'm not a fan of scripts, because people think that it's supposed to be like scripted. That's not what scripts are designed for. Scripts are designed to give you a framework to follow as a flow, and to give you an idea of information you need to know. How you collect that information does not matter. Doesn't matter whether they say it one way, or maybe something prospect says guides you to a different path. It doesn't matter. It's just a framework for a script. And I see people all the time. They will ask questions, almost like, it almost feels like an awkward interview, where you're just asking question after question. They're responding, yeah, no, I don't know, because blah blah blah. And I'm just there like, oh no, that's not how you, this isn't it. You're not listening. You're not listening. So I think for closers, understanding how to go deep into pain correctly is the biggest thing that is going to help them really elevate their closing percentage. And what I mean by that is finding something to anchor to,
Yeah.
right? So what I mean by that is let's say this was, I don't know, fitness, and you're talking to a prospect, and you start going to, oh, why are you interested in wanting to lose weight, and this and that, and they tell you that they want to lose weight because over the past 5 years, they've really struggled with it. They've had health issues, and they've tried all this stuff, right? Um, Most people would hear that and go on to the next question,
Yeah.
right? You would hear that and go on to the next question. What I mean by anchoring is you latch on to what the prospect just told you, and you want to go deeper into that layer. And so one thing that you want to get to is, okay, well, you just had a prospect tell you that they have health issues, but they've also told you that they have been trying to lose weight for the past 5 years. Now you have a timeline. So what I want to do is, rather than looking at my script and going to the next thing, talking about their goals and all this other crap like every other closer does, I want to open up and see, okay, what did they try over the past 5 years? Why didn't it work? And then at the end of the day, what you find when you keep going deeper, deeper into just one thing, just anchoring to this one thing, going deeper and deeper, you'll find things like, they've just been super busy and they haven't really been taking it seriously, right? Every time they get a diet, they never commit to it, right? And so what I look for as a closer is being able to put responsibility on the shoulders of the prospect. So if I can get you to admit to me that you've been procrastinating, that you've been bouncing from diet to diet, you never commit through anything you say you're going to do when it comes to doing your workouts, you never commit to the diet plan, and own up to that, you understand that there's no chance in hell you're ever going to be able to accomplish what you want to accomplish if you don't change, right? If I can get you to admit that to me on a call, I can close you. If I don't go deep enough to get you to address those things and make you take responsibility for those actions, it doesn't matter what I'm selling you. You're not going to get results, and you're not going to buy, period. That's what it means to anchor and go into deep pain. People think that that deep pain is this thing where you just talk about, oh my gosh, you've been overweight, you've had health issues. Like, how does that make you feel?
Yeah.
Like, how, I can only imagine,
Very
right? And that
common.
this prospect should start like crying, oh my gosh. And I imagine, like, that has to be affecting your family. Like, what does your wife think about you being overweight? Guys, that is not going into deep pain. That is not how you close somebody. and your closing percentage is going to be like minuscule. You'll get lucky. Don't get me wrong. You're going to have those 2% times where you get lucky with that, and there's just somebody who is ready to buy. But if you're trying to really elevate your closing percentage, you have to master going into true deep pain.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, pain digging is definitely there's times when in some cases when I've been on calls, and it's typically because I think it's my unease to go into pains. So what I would do is like I always have like in my structure like the origin question, which is like what brings you to this call, or what was it that about what we're offering that that enticed you. And then typically whenever they're kind of just beating around the bush, I kind of go, well, what are you trying to achieve? And it kind of brings me right back into that, you know what I mean? Because in some cases, some people won't be open to you, but that's very good advice. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. Is that there's this, I guess you could say there's this trend going around that it's as easy as asking like two simple questions, like why is that important to you? And that all of a sudden, magically they're just going to open up and be able to you're going to be able to close them. But that's not the case. I mean, it's a lot deeper than that. But if I think a lot, especially with sales, it has to do a lot with psychology or even physiology, like how they process that data. Because once you can kind of look into that, you realize that in some cases, and this is a problem that I see with the most closers, is that whenever something's going wrong on a phone call, typically they make it reflect upon them themselves when it's really not them. It could be also the other person might be going through something, and if you don't understand what they're going through, that's where the disconnect is. That's where
Yep.
the lack of communication is. So very, very excellent point. Now, one thing that I do want to bring up, because you brought this up very early inside of our interview, which is credibility. And I think that that's extremely important for anyone that's watching this or listening. Because whenever, people come to me and ask me like, hey, what about this opportunity, Virgil? Like I've had a lot of experience with trying to figure out where the opportunities are and where you can actually make money. And one of the biggest things that I always am an advocate of is credibility, is social proof. If they don't have that, and I've actually coached a lot of business owners, if you don't have that, there's nothing that really a closer can do. I mean, it's either they need it or not. And it just really depends on how, I guess you can say, how much it would help them out, whether it's in their business or in their personal life. And if it's not something, if it's something that's competitive with everyone else, then they're going to choose somebody with the credibility over yours. That's for sure. So I think that that's important for our audiences to know, is that whenever they're looking for an opportunity, it has to be backed up with somebody that is credible, that has some kind of social proof. I mean, it could be, one of the biggest questions I always ask is like, how many clients are you currently servicing? And I'm talking mainly just like in the digital marketing niche, which I personally will not close anymore, only because, like I said, the credibility is not there. And then secondly, we always have this problem, this issue of what makes you stand out from everyone else. And it seems like it's always the same, you know what I mean, between all of them.
Yeah, credibility is also important, but the thing is, when it comes to, especially if you have a business and you want closers to perform well, belief is everything, right? So if the closer doesn't believe it's going to work, they don't believe they're going to get results. What happens is most business owners think that, okay, well, I'm here to hire you because you're a salesman, you're a sales rep, or you're a closer. You should be able to, and I hate when people say this. I hear closers say this all the time. Oh, I'm such an awesome closer. I can sell anything to anyone. That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. That is so dumb. No, you can't. You cannot sell anything to anyone. Some things isn't the right. Some products aren't the right fit for somebody. You have to have belief in what it is that you're selling in order to conceive certainty, right? In order to really expand upon that. And most business owners will think that, well, I have a closer on here, so they want to keep them capped. They want to keep you on the front lines where you're closing. But the best thing that you can do for your team when you have a team of closers is have them involved with the process that the client goes through. So let's say you close, you want them to be able to see like, okay, well, what happens after I close them? What's the onboarding process? And then when they are onboarded, right, what happens with them next? Because if a closer understands the process they go through and sees results, their belief skyrockets, and then their closing percentage will go through the roof, right? So if I could, you could be in the closing industry for 20 years, and I could be selling a weight loss product, maybe like, let's say it's a pill that you take and it lowers your blood pressure and helps you lose 15 to 20 pounds in a month, right? If you take it consistently. You could have 20 years of experience and I could take somebody in off the street and I can make that person go sit in the house of the client, watch them take this pill every single day for 30 days and literally watch the transformation that they go through. And that person's belief is going to be through the roof. I could take that person and have him crush any person that's been in the sales industry for 20 years. Why? Because the social proof, the believing. It doesn't matter at that point what objections is coming your way. It's like, well, I don't know. You don't understand. I literally just watched this lady every single day take this, and the doctor came up to her telling a story, right? Checked her blood pressure and she broke down crying because she couldn't believe after her entire life of struggling with this that she doesn't have this blood pressure issue anymore, and she lost weight as a bonus. Her husband was like so excited, her family, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, right?
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff a closer would end up saying if they were in that position.
Right.
Doesn't matter what objections you get or resistance or anything like that, or skills, or I can sell anything to anyone. No, that person is going to crush you because their belief is here. You can't beat belief, period. You don't need skills. If you have belief in what it is you're selling, and business owners don't comprehend and understand this, that if you can get your closers through the process, let them see the results that the people are getting. Let them share with them. Like literally, if you guys are a business owner and you're watching this and you want to ever have a team, every single time you get a win from your clients and they send you something, I don't care what it is, share a screenshot with your closers. Get your closers excited. Guys, listen, everyone that you just brought in this past week or 2 weeks ago, or Virgil, who you just closed, look what happened with this lady you closed. You changed her life. Look at the results she got. Now your belief goes through the roof. You're like, holy shit, I'm really helping these people, right? Closers need that reminder. And the more that you just saturate them with the social proof over and over and over and over again, it's going to keep them consistent, and their closing percentage is going to get better.
Ooh, that's some juicy tips, man. I think that's something that's very significant. Talking about the belief system and also bringing up somebody's belief system with the actual proof. That's actually very key. Whenever any of us are in sales, we need that conviction for sure.
100%. Social proof is everything. That's why, like, my kind of newest venture now is I kind of took a little beta group. Actually, our friend Don was part of it, and I built our whole business, our academy, and everything completely organically. I've never spent money on ads or anything because I believe if you're starting out in business, you don't need that, right? Most people's excuse when it comes to business is I don't have money to spend on ads. I don't have money to do this, right? Starting from ground level, guys, you can take a concept, whatever it is you're passionate about, get social proof, sell first, build later, have zero excuse of not having money, and generate revenue. Like literally, and all organically, and all you need is social proof. And you know, Don does mindset and stuff. And one thing I helped him with, we're going to get on YouTube here soon. Touch base with him. He's like, dude, I'm closing, $3,000 a week doing what you said, like organically. He's not spending any money on ads. And I was just like, dude, I just wish people would listen. I just wish people would listen. You just need social proof, and you don't have to worry about, oh, I'm a brand new entrepreneur. I have to have all this money. I have to buy this and that. No, you don't. No, you don't, guys. You just need to learn. If you can close, sell first, get proof of concept, and prove whatever it is you're building on. Then later, now there's no excuse. You will have money to be able to spend ads. You will have money to be able to grow a team. You will have money to do whatever it is you need to. You don't need investors. You don't need any of that other crap. You just need to stop being lazy, focus on closing first, and focus on social proof. Make social proof the focal point of what it is that you have, and then the rest will follow. But if you don't focus on that, anything you do is going to be very difficult, because everyone's going to have it in the back of their head, and whether you like it or not, they're just thinking, prove it to me.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Without that proof, people will not move forward. And if you have that conviction, first of all, they'll believe you first. And then if they can see the proof, yeah, definitely. It's something that's a huge motivator for anybody to move forward. So yeah, now that you brought up this beta test, I'm just curious, like you yourself, what do you have going on? What would you tell our audiences? Like if there's anything that you're promoting right now, anything that you want to encourage anybody right now, because we are running out of time. Do you want to share with our audiences?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, if you're watching this and maybe you're trying to get into business for yourself, and you're really struggling with getting your offer off the ground and trying to generate sales and stuff, and you want to go kind of the organic route without spending money on ads and just kind of start ground level, I am going to be opening up a new program here soon called Organic Profits. I'm super excited for it. I've been kind of building it behind the scenes. And then vice versa, if you are a closer, closing for your own business or closing for somebody else, and if you guys need help and you want to hop on Zoom or anything and kind of get like a coaching call or get some advice with your script, more than happy to help you with that. That's kind of like my favorite thing to do on the side. I help you guys just close more deals. So if that's something you guys are interested in, you can check out my Facebook groups called Leads Closing Sales for aspiring entrepreneurs. Literally just go on Facebook, type in Leads Closing Sales. It's ranked at the top, or shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook under Dylan Starr Official.
There you have it, folks. So yeah, if you found this very helpful, please reach out to Dylan if you have any questions. He's open about that. I love that about you, Dylan, because a lot of people, it's always like, well, talk to my associate, talk to my whoever, but you make it very personal, which I like, because I resonate with that. I do that with anybody that is within my circle. I make sure that I make myself available to them if I can help them out freely. I do that freely. That's something that I do admire about you, man. And I love your energy, man. This is the first time that you and I have actually had a chance to converse. And I actually, I hope I can share with you more next time. But I did enjoy this interview. And what I'd like to do is just let people know again. I want to remind them that next week on Friday, same time around, 9 a.m. PST.
12 EST,
Noon?
I think it's 12 noon EST.
Noon EST, yeah, noon EST is going to be the launch of Sales Porn. If you're not inside of the group already, I'll leave a link in the description. Feel free to join us, and that way you can see the launch. We'll also have it on a YouTube channel as well. But this is going to be everything sales inclusive. Mindset, anything you can think of as far as like an entrepreneur, because when it comes to sales, that's like the foundation, you know what I mean? That's like the root system or the stem of what it is to be a successful entrepreneur. So if you're an entrepreneur or you're somebody that's in sales, you're a closer, definitely join us. If you know other people that want to join, please feel free to invite them. Make sure you blast them with our link so that they join our group. We want to see all of you in there. We want to see the results that you guys get. We want to see people actually get to the next level. And that's very important, as a growth. Now, again, I do have also a group called Sales Sidelines. So if you want to join me, I have basic training right now, and then it'll get into more elaborate trainings. Also, I do have a program which helps out any sales closers to find opportunities, and also get that experience to qualify opportunities, because in most cases, when we go out there, we're not sure who's the right fit. And in some cases, you might shortchange yourself because of the way that you were trained. So I do recommend that you reach out to us. But hey, Dylan, I want to thank you for your time. It looks like you're already getting on calls right now, but we'll see you next week, man. And I look forward to more interviews with you.
Absolutely, guys. Super excited for the show. Definitely check it out next Friday. Virgil, thank you so much for having me on the stream, man. Appreciate it.
Likewise, man. Everybody have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.